post-qualification experience. He is working as an associate partner with MSK and Associate, a BDO network firm in Mumbai since last 4 years. Prior to BDO was associated with PwC and E&Y. His core experience lies in a statutory audit of financial service companies, including listed companies, listed banks, NBFCs, MFs, AIFs, etc. He is a occasional speaker on various WIRC forums and like to travel and watch cricket. With this short introduction, I request everyone to please welcome him with a huge round of applause. And before handing him the mic, we'll present him with a memento, and I'll request Shweta Jain ma'am and Vijendra Jain bhai to please continue.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, sir. I think for a brief introduction. So today here, I think I'll be presenting across the standard of auditing 620. That is with respect to using the work of an auditor's expert. In next hour and a half, I think these are the broad things. I think probably what we'll be covering. I'm sure I think this is the last session. I think all of you must be quite expecting me to finish this off quickly, and the sessions also, I think the topic what I'm covering, it's also not too heavy. It's a light topic. We will try to touch upon the technicalities, I think of the standard, and try to I'll try to finish off, I think before the allocated time. But the most important part here is to touch upon the technicalities and to understand what exactly the standard states. So firstly, I think when I talk of using the work of an auditor's expert, what comes to your mind? I think when I say if someone has to answer, what is an auditor's expert? Anyone? Well, auditor's expert is during the course of the audit, any person or an organization who has, I think, expertise in the areas other than auditing and accounting, which will be used by the auditor to have appropriate and a sufficient audit evidence during the conduct of the audit. That's the technical definition. I think what's stated in the standard. We'll go in terms of the scope of the auditor's responsibilities. The standard of auditing, as I mentioned, SA 620, what does it deal with? What's the scope of the audit? The standard, it deals with the auditor's responsibilities in the use of the auditor's expert. What is an auditor's expert? As I mentioned, it's an individual or an organization having a expertise in the field which is other than auditing and accounting, and where the work of such expert is used by the auditor in obtaining a sufficient and appropriate audit evidence during the conduct of the audit. So this is what this particular SA 620 will be covering in detail. So now, if there are, like as in all the standards of auditing, there are specific exclusions. What does this standard does not cover? It does not cover if within the engagement team, if there is an individual or a person, I think who has an expertise in the areas of auditing or areas of accounting, those particular experts are not covered by this standard. And the other aspect that's not covered by this standard is something with respect to the management expert. So if there is an expert who's responsible for preparation of the financial statements, or whose inputs are used by the management in terms of preparation of the financial statements, such experts are not covered by SA 620. Now, coming to what is the auditor's responsibility. So SA 620 states, I think the auditor's expert can be used by an auditor during the conduct of the audit. What is auditor's responsibility in terms of using the work of an expert? irrespective of, I think, whatever expertise of the auditor's expert is used, the auditor solely responsible, he is solely responsible for the audit opinion, I think, that is issued by him. He, by any which ways, I think, citing the reference of the auditor's expert, that responsibility cannot be passed to another person. The auditor wholly is responsible for even the work that is performed or conducted by the auditor's expert. In case, I think, the auditor is satisfied with the work that has been prepared by the work that has been performed by the auditor's expert, then those workings can be used by the auditor as a audit evidence in the conduct of his audit. However, as I mentioned earlier, the auditor is solely responsible for solely responsible for the audit opinion that he is issued, and there cannot be any pass out or a carve out of the responsibility in terms of the audit in favor of auditor's expert. As we briefly touched upon, there are, who is an expert, I think? There are two types of experts what we typically come across during the conduct of the audit. One of them is a auditor's expert, and the other one is a management expert. As I reiterate, I think, the definition of auditor's expert, it's an individual or an organization. It's an individual or an organization whose expertise lies in areas other than auditing and accounting, which are used by the auditors to obtain an appropriate and a sufficient audit evidence during the conduct of the audit. He is termed as an auditor's expert. Now, the auditor's expert can be both an internal expert, he can both be or else he can be an external expert. We'll come to, I think, what is an internal auditor's expert and an external auditor's expert. But at the same time, I think there is something as a management experts as well. So what are management experts? The management experts are, again, an individual or an organization, okay, who have their expertise other than in the fields of auditing and accounting, whose help is taken by the management in preparation of the financial statements. The management takes the assistance of such experts in preparation of the financial statements. Such experts are called as a management expert. So if I take a case, say, of a classic case of an actuary, if actuary helps the management in arriving at say a payroll liabilities, I think, a gratuity, leave encashment liabilities at the end of the year or as a period end, so then such an expert helps the management in preparation of arriving at a financial numbers that will be going in the financial statements. So then he will be termed as a management expert. So now, what is an auditor's expert then? If during the conduct of the audit, if the auditor is of the view that the liabilities pertaining to the gratuity or a leave encashment that are being carried in the financial statements, they need to be independently assessed. So then he can hire an actuary or avail the services of an actuary to independently arrive at that numbers, arrive at the liability numbers. So in such a case, the actuary, I think, that who renders the services to the auditor in arriving at those numbers, he ticks all the boxes. He's a expert. He's an expert other than from the field of auditing, accounting. Okay, and I think he helps the auditors in obtaining a appropriate and a sufficient audit evidence. So he will be termed as a auditor's expert. So I am just trying to, I think, bring out the differences, I think, between, I think, the management expert and the auditor's expert. So in the later half of the half of the slide, I have put across few of the instances, or rather few of the definitions, I think, which can be termed as an auditor's expert. During the course of the audit, I think everyone must be, there are like many complex financial instruments, I think, that come up, I think, in the audit that needs to be valued. So we'll definitely go to a valuation experts. In course of, I think, actuarial experts, I think I already spoke of. Typically in case of complex areas, I think, like, say, oil and gas reserves. It's like very difficult for a normal auditor, I think, having an accountancy or auditing background, to assess, I think, probably for example, a complex area like arriving at the valuation of a closing stock. So again, during the conduct of the audit, the auditor will have to avail the services of an auditor's expert. Something with respect to the environmental liabilities, the ESGs. Then I think some sort of a legal experts. I think if there are any complex cases, I think having specific terms, conditions that requires, I think, a judgmental or a interpretation aspects. And lastly, I think it would be, I think, more of a tax experts, where I think there are unusual tax compliance or the issues. I think it's a tax expert. So while we were discussing on the auditor's expert, I made a mention of two aspects. I think one is internal auditor's expert, and the other one is an external auditor's expert. If individual chartered accountant, I think or the firm of the chartered accountants, if within the firm or within the organization they have an expert, especially like say a valuation experts, where many of the larger firms, I think they do have a valuation in-house valuation experts, they do have a in-house tax function. If any of these which are residing in-house of these firms, they would be termed as an internal auditor's expert. And if the services have to be availed from someone outside, I think so we spoke of the example of say a complex thing like arriving at a valuation of oil reserves, I think specifically for a oil and a natural gas company. I think probably oil reserves or a closing stock of a natural gas. I think those sort of expertise typically would not be there within an accountancy firm. They will have to avail the services of an expert who's outside the organization, and he will be termed as an external auditor's expert. So I'm running through the slides. If anyone has any questions, I think please you can just stop me and I think ask. Else, I think we can have a more of a Q&A session at the end. So now I think coming to the objectives of SA 620. What are the objectives of this particular standard? It states, I think the auditing standard to determine whether to use the work of auditor's expert. Okay, and the second objective is if the auditor is using the work of an auditor's expert, whether the work is adequate for the auditor's purposes. When you say adequate, whether the audit evidence that's obtained from an auditor's expert, whether the audit opinion, whether the work that's performed by the auditor's expert, it provides a sufficient and an appropriate audit evidence is something I think that needs to be assessed. So these are the two broad objectives that are covered by SA 620. Coming to, I think, why is it necessary, or I think to indulge, or what is the need to have an auditor's expert during the course of the audit, or I think what are the specific areas, I think during the course of the audit where it's deemed necessary to have the services of an auditor's expert. Of course, I think while obtaining an understanding of the entity, that's extremely important to have a detailed understanding of the audit entity prior to at that planning stage, or rather prior to commencing the audit. At that particular stage, I think if there are any complex entities, if there are any complex transactions, it's very important to avail. It's very important to avail the services or get the auditor's expert involved at the early stage. Identifying the risk of material misstatements. If the auditor during the course of the audit, I think it deems, I think if there are any specific areas or the financial statement line items, they are vulnerable to the risk of material misstatements, and such areas, I think auditor's expert may be involved. Determining and implementing the overall responses that need to be assessed, that need to assess the risk of material misstatements, I think in a financial at a financial statement level, and as well as at the assertion level. So at both the levels, at a financial statement level as well as at the assertion level, if the auditor is of the view that there is a expertise, I think that's required from a person other than, I think his engagement team, they need to be timely involved. And finally, while evaluating the sufficiency and the appropriateness of the audit evidence obtained and forming a financial statement opinion on the financial statements, if the auditor is of the view that there is some external expert who needs to get involved, these are the instances where auditor's expert can be involved during the course of the audit. Coming to the nature, timing, and extent. So during the course of the audit, I mean, I'm sure everyone must be aware the NTE, that's the nature, timing, and the extent of the audit procedures that need to be performed. They are extremely important. Whenever auditor's expert is involved in the conduct of the audit by the auditor, the most important things that need to be considered is the nature of the matter to which the expert's work relates. So that's very important as to, I think, I mean, what sort of a expert, I think, I mean, is involved in the course of the audit. What is the nature of the work that's being performed by the expert? So these things are extremely important to be understood by the auditor while planning the nature, the timing and the extent of the audit procedures that need to be covered during the course of the audit. Again, I think we spoke earlier the risk of material misstatements. If there is a risk of material misstatements to which the experts, I think, I mean, services are being availed, I think, I mean, that needs to be appropriately assessed. The significance that the expert work is in the context of the audit, I think, I mean, there are like many instances where there are very complex transactions, I think, where there are many management judgments, assessments, I think, I mean, that needs to be evaluated. So in such a case, again, I think, I mean, the auditor's expert services, I think, I mean, need to be obtained. It's very important during the conduct of the audit as to, I think, at what stage the auditor expert, I think, I mean, need to be involved, and to what extent, I think, I mean, that his services need to be availed. These are the two important factors. I think, I mean, it's always beneficial to involve the auditor's expert right from the initiation stage, I think, like right from the planning stage of the audit, so that even the expert, I think, I mean, who will be working upon this complex or significant judgment areas, I think significant assumption areas, they are involved throughout the course of the audit. And of course, I think, I mean, in case of the firms of chartered accountants, I think, I mean, whatever are the quality control procedures and policies that are followed at the firm, I think, I mean, they need to be adhered to. And I think, I mean, that's again one of the determinant as to, I think, what would be the nature, timing, and the extent, I think, to which the auditor services, I think, I mean, need to be involved. Okay, so we I think, I mean, the next part of the slide, I think, I mean, we already spoke of, I think, I mean, in what instances will be the auditors, I mean, the auditor during the course of the audit need to involve the experts, I think. I mean, if there are any significant matters, complex judgments, if the knowledge of that expert, I think it's very important, I think, I mean, whenever a auditor's expert is involved, I think, I mean, to understand the knowledge of the person, I think, I mean, whom the auditor will be relying upon. So during the course of the audit, I think, I mean, if say, I think, I mean, an actuary, I think, I mean, again, I'll stick to the same example what I gave earlier. If the auditor in his past engagements has worked with the actuary, I think, I mean, he would have some sort of a comfort, I think, I mean, in terms of understanding the working way, I think, understanding the competence of the actuary, I think, I mean, that will help him plan his audit procedures and the extent to which, I think, I mean, the auditor's expert can be relied upon. So that becomes extremely important. In terms of having a prior knowledge of working with the auditor's expert. Of course, I think, I mean, wherever there are like the auditor or the auditor's expert is more of an integral part of the audit, rather than being, I think, consulted as providing a specific advice. I think, I mean, that's again that needs to be assessed. I think, I mean, whether the auditor's expert would be an integral part of the audit, or I think it's only on a specific matters. I think, I mean, probably that the auditor is taking the advice of an expert. Again, that this particular thing, I think, will also determine as to the extent of the audit that needs to be performed by the auditor. And lastly, as I mentioned, I think the firm's quality control procedures, policies, I think, that needs to be adhered to in determining the nature, timing, and the extent of the audit procedures that need to be performed. So now I think once the auditor decides that an auditor expert needs to be involved in the course of the audit, then what? I think, what's the next step? As a next step, it's extremely important for the auditor to assess the competence, capability, and the objective of this expert. So yes, I think, that's ticked. I think, as a stated by the standard, I think, the auditor needs to assess the competence, capability, and the objectivity of the auditors. So now how that can be done? I think, how can an auditor assess these things? First, I think, comes the personal experience with the previous work on the expert. As we spoke, I think in case the auditor has previously worked with the expert, that will definitely help to tick off, I think, especially the competence and the capabilities. Okay, then there can be a discussion with the expert. I think, the auditor can sit face to face with the expert, discuss with him as to what are his core competencies. I think, what are the expectations by the auditors, I think, in terms of the audit, and they can mutually discuss and understand, I think, what are the what are the competencies and the capabilities of that particular auditor. The knowledge of the expert, I think, if he is, I think, a part of any professional standard, I think, probably if he has any specific distinct qualifications, then of course, I think, that's one of the areas, I think, how the competence of the expert can be assessed. Of course, I think if there are any published papers, books, I think, that have been written by the expert, of course, I think, that will demonstrate his knowledge of the subject matter. So if why is the competence and the capabilities of the auditor extremely important? Because I think, again, I think we'll take, see, again, I think coming back to the definition, I think, what's an expert, auditor's expert for the areas other than accounting or auditing. So I'll give you a classic example. I think, few months back, I think, specifically, I think the RBI, they came up with the bank, came to the banks, and I think they directed the statutory central auditors of the bank, say that you need to go ahead, and they gave specific branches. You need to go and assess the purity of the gold, specifically with respect to the gold loans. I think where the gold ornaments have been pledged by the customers, you go and verify the purity of the gold. So now we as accountants, I think, we are not the subject matter experts. So how do I do that? I think, that's the engagement, I think, that's been directed by the regulator to the statutory central auditors to go and test the purity. I think, if a customer has taken a gold loan from a bank, have to visit the branch, see the ornaments, and assess the purity. So as accountants, can we do it? Answer is no. So then what we do, I think, so as a matter of a practice, I think, the auditor, I think, they will go into the market to assess, I think, probably who are more or less, say, a government approved valuers, I think, who has a expertise in terms of valuation of the gold or a gold ornaments, I think, to assess the purity of the gold, I think, the caratage of the gold, I think, if these things, I think, who's the expert. So then they will, when you go and, I think, meet such an expert, what's the first thing you'll ask him? I think, what are your qualifications? Do you have any, I think, professional qualifications, I think, to perform this sort of a exercise? Yes, I think, if they do have some sort of a certifications or the others, that will give you, I think, a comfort. Yes, I think, he is the right person, I think, who has, who would be able to take up this job. What's the next thing? I think, have you any time before, I think, done any such engagements? So of course, I think, that comes, I think, in the past, if such a valuer has worked with any of the auditors on the similar engagements, that will give you additional confidence. Yes, I think, he is the right person, I think, who understands, I think, what's the requirements of the auditors from an engagement per se. And then I think, having those discussions with the expert, they are extremely important. And basis that, competence and the capabilities of the auditor's expert can be assessed. In terms of objectivity, in terms of the objectivity of the auditor's expert, it's extremely important, I think, the expert, I think, who's being involved. As auditors, I think, I'm sure we all are aware that at all point in times, I think, we have to be independent. of the client. Again, I think in respect of any of the auditors expert, I think who are being hired, it's extremely important. I think that sort of a objectivity, independence. I think they are like appropriately ensured. So, firstly, I think whenever you plan to during the course of the audit, whenever the auditor plans to engage any of the auditors expert, the first thing I think he can inquire with the firm. I think if there are any interest, I think if that particular auditor's expert is interested party, if there are any relationship, I think a personal business, I think any of the relationships, I think with the external expert, that may affect the objectivity of that expert. That's extremely important. Parallelly, I think we should also discuss with the expert as to if there are any financial, if there are any financial interest, if there are any business or the personal relationships, I think with the client for which he will be working, that might impair his independence, that might impair the work what he will be performing as a auditor's expert. Is that these things I think need to be assessed, and they are extremely important. And of course, I think the auditor's defense, I think we can definitely go ahead and obtain a written representation. Even after we have those discussions, I think with the with the auditor's expert, I think we can go ahead and have a representation from him that there are no relations, business threats. I think he is independent of the audit client, and he can very well render these services. So this is how I think the competence, capabilities, and the objectivity of the auditors can be assessed prior to engaging with the auditor's expert. So obtaining an understanding on the field of the expertise. So what does this mean? I think if you recollect in the first slide with respect to the scope and the responsibilities, what we discussed, I think we discussed, irrespective of engaging auditor's expert, the responsibility of opining on the financial statements, that will continue to be that of the auditor. So that is why it's extremely important from an auditor's point in view for obtaining an understanding of the field of the expertise. So again, I think I'll stick to the same example. I think what we have been talking, say for example, a oil valuation, say of a oil or a natural gas reserve as at the period end or as at a year end, as at 31st of March. It's very extremely important. As an auditor, he might not have a technical expertise in these matters. However, I think he can still go ahead and inquire with the auditor's expert, with the expert, as to I think asking him, I think with respect to the nature, scope, and the objective of his work. I think we can always go ahead and ask him as to I think how the work will be conducted, what are the I think the procedures that will be performed, how we will be planning the audit. I think who all will be involved in the audit, what's his technical expertise. So these are small things. I think though as an auditor we don't have a technical knowledge of that particular area, however it's still extremely important to have an understanding of the field of expertise. I think where we are engaging the auditor's expert. And of course, I think it's like though these experts are subject matter experts, I think in the areas what they will be working upon. However, it's the auditor's responsibility to assess that adequate work has been performed by the auditor's expert. It's extremely important, I think for the auditor, I think since he takes the entire responsibility of opining on the financial statements, including these areas, I think where he is supported by the auditor's expert, thus I think the sufficiency and the appropriateness of the evidence, the adequacy of the evidence, that's extremely important. As an auditor, I think he needs to ensure that these evidences, I think with respect to the complex areas, assumptions, judgments, I think they have been appropriately obtained and documented by the auditor's expert. So I just jotted down I think few of the areas as to I think few of the areas where the auditor may obtain an understanding of the expert fields through discussions. I think, so we spoke of we can have those discussions to understand. I think, that's extremely important. I think, and I'm reiterating on this point. It's like just by engaging an auditor's expert, that does not end the responsibility of a auditor. It's extremely important for the auditor to get engaged right from initiation, right from the planning stage, along with the auditor's expert. Try to understand, I think, probably what's the scope, I think, the manner in which, I think, the testing will be performed. These things are extremely important, I think, to strike a conversation with the auditor's expert. Of course, I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think, if there are any sort of qualifications, I think, where the auditor's expert, and that might be added advantage. With respect to evaluating the adequacy of the work that is performed by the auditor's expert, I briefly touched upon this, I think, in my previous slide. How does, I think, an auditor evaluate work that's performed by the auditor's expert? It's very difficult. It's very difficult because we as auditors are engaging the auditor's expert because we don't have that technical competence in those particular areas. So then the first question that will come to your mind is, I think, how do we assess the adequacy of the work that's been performed? Wherever there are technicalities, I think, that are involved, I think, it's better left to the auditor's expert. However, as mentioned in the earlier slide, I think, it's very important to strike a conversation with the auditor's expert to understand, I think, the process, the procedures, I think, that are adopted, that are performed by these auditors expert in the course, during the course of their testing. It's extremely important, I think, to assess the relevance and the reasonableness of the expert's findings, I think. So if any specific financial statement line items, I think, where an auditor expert is assisting us, it's extremely important to assess the relevance and the relevance and the reasonableness of the expert's findings. Similarly, I think, if I have to take an example of valuation of complex financial instruments, it's extremely important. It's subject to multiple assumptions. I think, there are like many management judgments, I think, which are involved. As an auditor, it's our responsibility, I think, to strike conversations with the auditor's expert as to, I think, probably what procedures have been performed, I think, with respect to these judgments. I think, what's more of a market practice, what's more of a industry practice, how we are comfortable, I think, with this. Many a times in case of valuations, there are like thresholds, I think, so the valuation which is performed by the management, the valuation which is performed by the expert, it would not match pie to pie, I think. There will be some acceptable thresholds, I think, where, I think, those differences, I think, they can live with, I think. We can understand what are the industry benchmarks, I think, in respect of the thresholds, I think, where the expert can live with. So these are the things, I think, probably that needs to, a conversation that needs to be struck with the auditor's expert to understand, I think, the reasonableness of the assumptions, I think, that the auditor's expert has taken in terms of arriving at a particular value. And of course, it's extremely important to know what is the source data that has been used by the auditor's expert in terms of, I think, arriving at the conclusion. I think it's extremely important to have understanding of the source data, specifically in terms of completeness, accuracy. That is, I think, it's significant, I think, in terms of the overall procedures, I think, that have been performed by the auditor's expert. Further, I think, if the auditor is of the view that the work that is performed by the auditor's expert, it is, he does not get comfortable, I think, with work that is performed by the auditor's expert, then what, I think, how does he go about, I think, so while the auditor is evaluating the adequacy of the work that's performed by the auditor's expert, if he comes to a view that the work that's performed by the expert, it's not adequate. What options does he have? So there are two things, I think. I mean, he can strike a conversation with the auditor's expert, understand as to what things he has done, and wherever he believes, I think, I mean, additional work that needs to be done by the auditor's expert, he can have that discussion with the auditor and enhance the scope of the auditor's expert. So he can tell him, I think, I mean, though you have done X, Y, Z things, I think, I mean, that's not giving the output, I think, that we as auditors are looking for. I mean, you need to do, I think, I mean, these additional procedures that might give us, I think, I mean, some more comfort what we are looking at as an auditor, to ensure that there are no risk of material misstatements in the financial statements. So that's one aspect, I think, I mean, where we can enhance the scope of, or rather, I think, through discussions, enhance the scope of the auditor's expert. Secondly, I think, I mean, if that does not work, I think then the auditor should consider performing additional procedures. I think, I mean, he needs to imbibe additional procedures into his audit plan, I think, I mean, where in the past, I think, I mean, where he had planned to rely on the work of a auditor's expert. However, for whatever reasons, I think, I mean, he is not able to get a comfort that is required for a specific financial statement line items. He needs to enhance the scope of his audit. Additional procedures need to be performed to get more or additional comfort on those line items. So these are the two things, I think, I mean, probably that the auditor, I think, need to consider while evaluating the adequacy of the work that's performed by the auditor's expert. Well, I think, I mean, this is something I'm sure, I think, everyone must have a question in their mind. I think, I mean, how does it go about in the auditor's report? Well, I think, again, this particular slide, I think, I mean, should be read with my first slide, where I mentioned the total responsibility, the entire responsibility of the audit, irrespective of any of the experts being employed by the auditor. I think, I mean, it's the sole responsibility of the auditor in terms of opining on the financial statements. There cannot be a carve out that this particular area was verified by a auditor's expert, and thus, I think, I mean, the auditor does not take a responsibility of that. Sorry, I think, I mean, that particular option is not available. The auditor is solely responsible for the entire opining on the entire set of financial statements. So if an auditor's expert is engaged by an auditor, and if the auditor, the work of the auditor expert is not adequate, and the audit procedures, I think, I mean, that the audit procedures that the auditor need to do in order to get a comfort over the specific financial statement line item, those are not giving him a comfort to assess whether he has overcome the risk of material misstatements. Then in that I'm sorry, then in that instance, the auditor should go ahead and, I think, modify the audit report, specifically stating, I think, I mean, the reasons, I think, I mean, for the modifications. So in that scenario, I think, I mean, the auditor, while he is qualifying a audit opinion, because he is not able to assess if there are any misstatements in a particular line item, because of whatever are the reasons, I think, I mean, where the auditor's expert and the procedures that have been performed by the auditor's expert are not sufficient, then he will go ahead and issue a modified opinion. If an auditor makes a reference to the work of the auditor, typically, if you see, I think, I mean, the auditor is not allowed to make a reference to the auditor's expert's work in any of the audit opinion. However, I think in a modified opinion, if the auditor believes, I think, that a reference to the auditor's expert needs to be made, and that's extremely important in terms of a qualification that's going into the financial statements, then that particular reference can be made. However, he has to clearly mention in the auditor's opinion that the auditor, such a reference does not reduce the auditor's responsibility for that opinion. Again, I think, I mean, circling back, I think the auditor is solely responsible, even if, I think, I mean, for whatever reasons, in a modified opinion, for the better, better reading of the financial statements, better understanding of the financial statements by the reader. If the qualification has a reference to the auditor's expert, still the onus is on the auditor to clearly mention that though there is a reference to the auditor's expert, the responsibility of the opinion of on the financial statements is solely that of the auditor. In case of an unmodified opinion, I think it's given. I think there cannot be any reference to the auditor's expert that can be made. Of course, I think if there are any specific laws, regulations, I think where the regulator states, I think that reference to the auditor's expert need to be made, then that's imperative. I think the auditor should go ahead and make such a reference. But in a normal scenario, I think where there is an unmodified opinion, the auditor's expert's reference cannot be given. So in a nutshell, I think again, as I mentioned earlier, it's like more of relatively a standard topic, I think with respect to SA 620. So it states, I think using the work of an expert, I think so these are the aspects, I think what we have covered in terms of SA 620. Happy to take any questions. These are the broad slides, I think what we have, I think what's covered by SA 620. Happy to take and answer any of the questions.
So in case of my client, they are investing in PMS, and the PMS has a separate audit report for each individual investors. So can we rely on that audit report when finalizing my client's?
That will be covered by another standard, I think relying on the work of another auditor. So it's not an auditor's expert. It will be covered by the standard with respect to relying on the work of another auditor. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much for patiently listening. Thank you.
So we provide a vote of thanks to CA Ajit ji. Such a patience listening for everyone here. Now today we have learned about what is the how we are going to use the work of experts, the internal, the external experts, and what is the need of such experts in our audit report. So I think so today we have learned many things, and thank you for such a patience listening everyone. Thank you, sir, for your sharing your knowledge. Thank you.